From 2013 through the start of 2017, a series of videos were made by the GOC that explain how to remove implants installed by the GRAIL-controlled U.S. military. The U.S. military made sure those videos, uploaded onto YouTube, only reached their eyes by keeping the website hidden from the American public. The U.S. military uses radio frequency weapons to implant, torture, and kill the civilians of their own country. After surviving these attacks for many years and providing intelligence on how to do likewise, the U.S. military intercepted all this information sourced from the Pleiadians and the GOC and used it to strengthen their program of attack on the civilians of the United States. Instead of attempting to learn how to resist the Greys and allow others to do the same, they suppressed our information and used it to learn how to attack people such as myself better. After observing those in control of the U.S. military and the Vatican for many decades and understanding what they are, a network of pedophiles, the Pleiadians knew that this would be the military's reaction. So they let the information be intercepted at first and not brought before the general public. The reason is this: before, the U.S. military basically fumbled around with the technology that they did not fully understand until the GOC beat them and then documented what happened and what we were able to learn on the internet. So the CIA's response was to take that information and use it to attack us better. So again, they waged war against us, and again, we learned how to beat them on this higher strategic level. So all this was necessary in order to fully prepare those of you who are to take control of our country and get it out of the hands of those who want to destroy us all. The only aspect of our report that will be lacking is the technical information about the radio frequency weapons they are using. I will tell you what they do, what to expect, and how to beat them, but I do not know exactly how they work or are operated. Based on the few reports I was able to locate on the internet, including this old CNN report, and also a report by a Dr. Nick Begich, I was able to learn that the military is using an energy in the radio frequency spectrum to conduct mind control and torture operations on the American public. And some of the early radio frequency machines were called the LIDA machine. And that is spelled L-I-D-A. And the effects the machine produces has to do with the amount of pulses per second. When I was first subjected to the radio frequency weapons, I could tell when they were on due to a very low-pitched sound that would deafen your ears slightly. It was like hearing a very low-pitched bass woofer sound. However, if you were in a crowded place or somewhere with a lot of noise or activity, it would be hard to detect. And what seemed to accompany this was a feeling of anxiety, nausea, and panic that could range from mild to extreme. This technology could also be used to create a sedating or a stupefying sensation. It was reported by Dr. Nick Begich that some of these energy spectrums can change people's brainwaves so they can learn better, or change people's brainwaves in order to relax them. Yet after being targeted by this technology, in my opinion, none of these states are beneficial to human beings, and it is very similar to being drugged. However, what is of utmost concern is that these radio frequency energy waves transmit information the same way that radios or televisions are operated. Only the radio frequency energy spectrum also allows biological particles to be transmitted through the air to the receiver, which is the human being. So through the radio frequency energy spectrum, everyone is being implanted with alien technology that invades its host as a plasma energy before solidifying as the military experimented with this technology for the use of mind control and as a weapon, they found this out. They were all being implanted by the aliens. These implants could then be used to monitor and control the human host. When agents of the U.S. military would set up a radio frequency connection between their implants and their targets, they would then use this connection to attack you with a high-tech form of trauma-based mind control. They could affect your breathing, your heart rate. They could monitor your cranial nerves to spy on you, and they could hurt or kill you. The government will call some of this synthetic telepathy. And they had programs with idiotic names. For example, WSFM, that stood for Weird Science and Freaking Magic. If you ever heard reports sourced from the U.S. military that describes radio frequency weapons used by the Russians, who may be ahead of the U.S., this is a cover story and a way to explain that the Roman Catholic Church has been utilizing these devices all over the world for a lot longer than anyone else. So covertly, the U.S. military works under the control of the Roman Catholic Church concerning the mind control use of radio frequency weapons. And they use these devices to control, rape, torture, and kill people. And often these people are young people and children. So the Roman Catholic Church is an international cult comprised of militaries all over the world who attack, rape, and kill the people of whatever country they are in. This is how they stay in power. Anyone who is independent or considered a threat to the military police state is targeted, then scared out of their homes through the use of this technology and killed in human sacrifice rituals that the military groups play cloak and dagger to. All the people involved in these military programs are psychotic. They are mentally retarded. They are often drug addicts and all victims of sexual and trauma-based mind control themselves. So, if you want to go through my different channels, listed on the side of my YouTube page here, you will find the entire story, my experience of being attacked through the use of radio frequency weapons. But to put it simply here, the first thing that happened is that they induced anxiety and panic through this technology. Then, next, I remember them attempting to sedate me through the use of this technology. And last, they began to use this technology to cause severe pain that affected my organs and would cause extreme pressure. So let me explain what I have learned since my last report concerning this, entitled Energy Lifts and Frequency Shifts, which is the prerequisite to this video series. So if you haven't yet, see the video entitled Energy Lifts and Frequency Shifts. Usually the military are positioned in houses around you, and they have aimed one of these radio frequency weapons at you and is connecting an agent or agents to you. And if this agent has an implant in their head, this is where you're going to develop your implant. If the agent has an implant in their leg, that is where you're going to develop yours. Because basically the energy that is built up in them is transferred into you and will hit you in the same location as in them. This is how the agent goes on to manipulate or control you through the use of a mutual implant. So when they turn on these machines and link you to their agents, suddenly all the excess plasma that is built up in the agents will flood into you. And then, through this connection, you can also sense the hardened implants that have developed in these agents. So one day I realized that they had moved in an agent with a hip injury near me. Because when they turn on the energy fields, I would start to get a lot of pain in my hip and have trouble walking with what felt like an injured hip. So the plasma being directed over to me was building up in my hip in the same exact place that the agent had been implanted. Then, as weird as it may sound, I'll notice that when I would go out in public, like down to the store, whenever these agents would walk up to me, I would get an amplified pain in my hip. And I also realized that not everybody caused this pain. And the pain in my hip only seemed to be affected by people who looked and acted like agents. And this is what the agents are taught to do: to follow the target around in droves and continually harass them through these implants. So whenever they'll come around me, my hip would start to ache. So soon, I figured out that wherever you have your implant, when they come around you, it will bother you even more, because some of the energy will come out of them and go right into your implant. Another place I got an implant was around my sinus area. And I'll be driving down a country road and feel okay. And then someone would drive up really close behind me. And as soon as they did that, it was as if my sinus wanted to close off. And it was very difficult to breathe. Then, when I'll get to the store, I'll be okay around some people, but around others, the sinus would instantly want to close off. So this is why the U.S. military and the Vatican surrounds you with their agents and practices what is called gang stalking, because it is a way to further implant the target and then disturb them so their life becomes unmanageable. So these agents make these implants feel a lot worse when they get around you. And this is one of the ways they traumatize you. So it is important to stay calm and to not act out in any way. And after some time, you will get more used to the feelings and it will not bother you as much. I also realized that this alien plasma energy that is transmitted through the radio frequency energy fields is attracted to injury. So if an agent has a hip injury and is subjected to these radio frequency energy fields, the energy will flow into him and build into an implant in his hip. If he has a shoulder wound, it will build up in his shoulder. So when the agent connects himself to you through these radio frequency energy fields, you are going to feel an implant begin to form in your hip or shoulder too. Because through this connection between you and them, some of the energy that is built up in them will implant you in the same area. Hence, these agents of the Vatican and the U.S. military develop implants that are never removed. And these implants grow to the point that it begins to affect their surrounding tissues and deform their bodies, most often with hunchbacks or with cranial deformities. So after I'll go out into public, any implants that I felt in my body would seem larger and more painful when I would get home. And the pain from the implant in my hip continued to get worse and worse until I used techniques to rid myself of the developing implant, or else the implant would build up to such a point that I would have trouble walking. So you always need to get these implants out and should devote time in the morning and the night, or whenever possible, to doing so. The ways to get these implants out is through deep breathing and exercise. So exercise and a certain way to breathe will help get the implants out and not let them build up. And this is called the U breath, and is the same thing that is taught in ancient meditation. And I will explain this in full detail in just a little while. So you want to practice these deep breathing or meditation exercises throughout your life, and not just when you are meditating.